Yes, everybody, what's happening? My name is Stephen Howson, and this is an Instagram Q&A. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, well, you probably should, really, shouldn't you? It's Mr. Stephen Howson on Instagram, and every now and then, and we're probably going to make it semi-regular throughout the season, we're going to do an Instagram Q&A. So follow me on Instagram, and you'll find out exactly when that is, and you get a chance to ask your question. Cam Waters says, "Can I go London, please? Bin off Skaman." We should be interviewing Rio Ferdinand on Tuesday, and that is one of the lads, and he wants to go and be the cameraman. I'm sorry, boo-boo. Not today. Hunter, what's happening, our kid? He says, "Why still no new signings?" To be honest, I don't know. Because we should have signed someone realistically by now, shouldn't we? At least, man. The Premier League has absolutely battered themselves, hasn't it, with this 3 week before the rest of Europe closing it. Why is it an issue that you can't play? Oh, because someone, we don't know what our squad's going to be for the whole season. And what if we play against a player that ends up them signing for us? Like, who gives a fuck? Idiots. Why is that not an issue in January? Someone could play for you and then against you and the next day sign for you. That can happen in January. So why is it an issue in August? Selective outrage. Idiots. David Pritt says, "What was your favourite moment of the tour?" Rottnest Island was pretty cool in Australia where we went and seen all the quackers. That was pretty cool. Just seeing the sheer number of United fans that come and said hello really was a madness. Although it's not a moment, is it? It's not a moment. It was more of that was the overall vibe of the tour. But you don't really over-celebrate a goal on pre-season, or I hope you don't over-celebrate a goal on pre-season. So it was just having a good time with the lads, really. You know, having a few drinks. Yeah, I'd say, do you know what, actually? I'd say sitting by the beach and having a beer on Rottnest Island, because that was the only time that we saw a beach. I'd say that, or by the pool, after we just palmed Matt, who asked us if we were coming to training. Highly Blessed says, "In your opinion, is the need of goals more important or a solid defence? All the best." I think a solid defence, because you can grind out a game 1-0. It's hard to grind out 4-3 wins all the time. You got to get solid at the back. Nicholas Mayo says, "What former Red would you most want to do a warm down with other than Cantona? Evra or Beckham?" Evra or Beckham. Carl says, "What do you think about De Gea's distribution so far in pre-season compared to before?" It's not world class, is it? But it actually does look a little bit better. And I wonder if it's because he's not going direct. The options are in that sort of low to middle range instead of the try and aim for Fellaini or Lukaku. Oh, what game was it? Was it Perth? There was a few times in Perth he was going direct to Mason Greenwood, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, honestly, what are we doing? Why are we trying to... Mason Greenwood's going to get knocked out of it by anybody, like... WPU79 says, "Do you think we should ever build a new stadium in our lifetime, or do you believe Old Trafford is up to date?" Well, those aren't exclusive. Like, Old Trafford isn't up to date, but I also wouldn't ever want to leave it. I would want to renovate it. If they give it a jet wash on some of those stanchions where the bits that come over the top, those white, I don't know, what do you call that? The cantilever parts? It'd look all right. And then if they rebuilt the south stand to match the rest of it, it would look sensational, wouldn't it? Now, yeah, all right, do you know what? The leg room's pretty shit compared to other stadiums. Like, that stadium in Perth, well bigger than Old Trafford, holds 20,000 less than Old Trafford holds. And that's literally because in Old Trafford, it's shoulder city. Like, if you actually have to sit down, I haven't sat down for years at Old Trafford. I don't even remember the last time. Almost 10 or 15 years or more. When the Glazers first took over and they went kind of hard on a lot of the protests and stuff, they was really on top of making people sit down. And all around that time, it was on top. Especially, I was in K-Stand lower, and it used to make you sit down all the bleeding time down there. And then you just stand back up as soon as an exciting moment happened. So it was just a constant battle back and forth between the stewards and all the fans. Where I am in the Stretford end now, I stand up for the entire game, sit down at half time, and it's well tight. My knees touch the chair in front. If I'm not sitting next to an anorexic either side of me, it's just absolute shoulder city. So it's tight if you're sitting down, but who gives a toss about what happens when you sit down? I think it's fine, and I'd rather I would hope they renovate the South Stand and just do whatever they need to cram 100,000 in there, because I know, especially if you had some sort of like under 21 pricing, you'd probably be able to get some absolutely belting atmospheres in there. Like, if I was in charge, this weekend we're doing it. Get your hard hats on. We're all going down to Old Trafford. I'm going to rip out the bottom of the Stretford end. Let's put the disabled fans somewhere where they're not in danger of getting balls twatted at them. Somewhere where they're actually going to have a good view, because you can't see shit down at the bottom there. Disabled friends of mine that I've got that sit in that area say it's fucking horrendous. And I used to sit down in that area anyway, and I was a little bit further up. And even standing up, you can't see what's happening at the other end of the pitch. 2007, when we won the league, we just had a party in the back end and watched it on the tellies. I'm at the ground watching it on the telly because you can't see what goes on at the other end. So vulnerable fans that are sitting down, fucking ridiculous to make them sit down in the very bottom of East Stand. Rip that out. Let's go safe standing in there. Fill it with a load of fucking loons full of cider, and let's have a right good atmosphere. And then do the same in the Stretford end, right at the bottom, just that bottom tier, like 18 rows or something like that, whatever it is. Just safe standing. Let's have a fucking party. Redo South Stand, get the disabled fans up on the second tier probably, where it's a good view, where they can actually see the pitch and see what's going on. And then I think Old Trafford would look good, and it would also have a good atmosphere, which is what it's there to serve, really, at the end of the day, isn't it? Rohan says, what do you think about Sanchez and his chances of getting into the first 11? Because he's not been on pre-season, it's almost like the guy doesn't exist, isn't it? How mad's that? Because he's not been on pre-season, it definitely feels like he doesn't exist to a greater or lesser degree. I think playing 4-2-3-1, you can play him in the number 10 position, and I think it actually worked very well in the press in a number 10 position. Is he going to get the opportunity to do that, though? Very interested to see what happens with Sanchez. Driving in this morning, I was saying to Mitz, do you know what? Inter Milan are desperate trying to find a striker, aren't they? Or trying to find someone to play up front. They wanted Lukaku, substantial wages. They're talking about getting Dzeko from Roma. Well, do you know what? Why don't we give you Alexis Sanchez? We might even pay his bus fare to get him there. How about that? That'd solve a lot of problems for everyone, wouldn't it? I think you'd probably do well in Italy as well. Rohan getting greedy here, he's got 2. He says, do you think we need to sign a centre mid this window to play alongside Pogba? I do. And I would go in that Idrissa Gueye and Didi kind of role or mould. I'd like to see someone like that. But then, on the flip side of that, I also think I'd love to see us sign like Neves. And that's a totally different football that would enable us to play a totally different style of play that Ollie doesn't actually play right now, but I would like to see what he could offer. I think he's class. How could Dybala and Fernandes play in the same lineup? I think you might see Dybala shunted out to that right-hand side a little bit the way Mata was, because he's like a quicker version of Mata, really, in a lot of ways. And you could play Fernandes down the middle. I don't think you're ever going to need to know the answer to that question, because I don't think that that's going to happen. I think it's going to be one or the other, and I think that they're 1 and 2, or 3 and 4 on a list somewhere. If we sign Maguire, Dybala, and Bruno, do you think we can challenge Liverpool and City for the title? We're not going to sign Dybala and Bruno. If we sign Maguire, Dybala, Maguire, Dybala, and a proper box-to-box gangster centre mid, maybe. Because if you look at how we play when we hit that height under Solskjaer in first 10 weeks, if that's in us, and I'm hoping that is in us, we are a force for everyone, including the big boys. Liverpool was shit against us. They were so lucky we had 4 injuries. Do I think Chong will get to play? Out of the academy lads that are breaking into the first team right now, in terms of Angel, Jimmy Garner, Mason, Chong, obviously, Chong's the bottom of that list for me. Who do I think should be captain next season? Now, that's $1 million question, isn't it, Mr. Pallet? I'd be tempted to give it Juan Mata or David De Gea. I could see a captaincy being as part of some sort of contract negotiation with David De Gea. And I wonder what's happening with that, actually. Do you reckon he's waiting on seeing whether we sign the players that the board have probably told him we're about to sign? I heard there's something about a loyalty bonus gets paid to some of the squad on the 1st of September, so he could actually still leave on the 2nd of September. It'd be interesting to see if that happened. That 25% drop that you get for not being in the Champions League. I believe that there might be something to do with Dybala's wages on that front. But there was a couple of players that was exempt from it. I don't know for a fact that De Gea is one of them. I hear it might be. But Zlatan was one that didn't have the drop. Obviously, it didn't necessarily matter anyway, but like Zlatan was one of the players that was like, you're not paying me less. Do I think Leo Connor will get his chance at United, says Luke Daly. I really rate Lee. I hope he does. There's a real Gary Neville feel about the guy. I don't want to see him at centre-half. I think he's probably a little too short for centre-half, but he's a bang top full-back. Does that even make sense? He's just a top full-back. Charlie Wright says, I'm worried Dybala might not settle and fuck off in 18 months. How likely is this? I think there is a real Di Maria vibe about this. Doesn't want to come, being forced out of his old club. Di Maria didn't flop. He just didn't want to fucking be here. And I wonder if you could be bang on with that. I think there might be something in that, mate. Connor, who are my favourite / most reliable journos in regard to transfer reporting? Simon Stone and Peach. Really, that's about it for transfers. I'd say that is about it. Damasio's not had a great time this summer. There's a lot of stuff he's been like, that's 100% definitely happening, and it just hasn't. What are the perks of Patreon? Asked James Garner. Is that actual James Garner? The perks of Patreon is you get behind-the-scenes vlog. You get a Patreon-only podcast, which did pause for pre-season because it was absolute carnage around here, but it is back. Any little inside info that we get, like they've got some today, well, technically yesterday because this goes out on Friday. I'm recording it on Thursday. But there was a little bit of news that got dropped in there about a couple of players. And it's a great match day community. And it's also full of absolute cranks as well. And I won't moderate it. So if you're a crank and you like being a crank, this is probably your future home. And it helps support this channel and help deliver the quality of content that I'm hoping you guys are noticing and enjoying. What do I think about Dybala's wage demands? Are they justified? Absolutely. He's coming and asked for about half as much as Sanchez is on. Sound. Fucking right, they're justified. That's the problem when you pay one knobhead an absolute fortune. Every other knobhead in there can go. Everyone in that squad can at least go and go, well, I'm worth fucking 100, aren't I? But you don't even play. Yeah, exactly. I'm worth 100. Absolute fucked, innit? Top 3 moments of the treble winning season. The Solskjaer has won it. It's probably up there, innit? I think underrated, and I don't know how you could really explain it to fans that didn't live through it. Juventus were the best team in the world at the time by a long way. And when you go 2-0 down in the Del Alpi, there is no coming back from a team that's got... I mean, Conte, when he'd lost his hair, he was an absolute savage defender. Zidane, Davids, fucking Inzaghi and Del Piero. This was an unbelievable football team at its peak. Always in and around the final and the semi-finals of the Champions League. And you go 2-0 down. Fucking come down. You come back from fucking 2-0 down. In the Del Alpi to... Nah. The Juventus comeback is unbelievable. People will talk about Roy Keane's performance. There was a team performance that night. David Beckham was sensational. Andy Cole was fucking sensational. What a performance. The other moment in that treble season, I mean... Giggs, you could probably have a top 10 moments of the treble season. Giggs' run. You got to remember that this all came on the back of David Beckham being absolutely vilified and targeted for some seriously wrong harassment by the likes of the Sun and that after England got knocked out of the World Cup in 1998. For him to go and have the season that he had, he was the best fucking player in the world that year. Rivaldo won the Ballon d'Or. Who the fuck wins a Ballon d'Or when you don't get out of group stage? You can't even picture that happening now, can you? For me, the greater the player, the greater the moment, and the greater the game that they're involved in, the greater the moment. Can you be consistent over a season? Can you be consistent in the biggest of big matches? And can you be a match winner? David Beckham had a moment in every one of the moments of that that treble winning seaon, you go back to the final. Solskjaer and Sheringham put the ball in the net, but David Beckham put both crosses in. The Inter Milan performance at Old Trafford, 2 Dwight York goals. David Beckham put the crosses in. The comeback against Liverpool, which sparked off the last time that we would go on and win or draw every single time from then. David Beckham put the cross in. You remember Ryan Giggs' goal from the semi-final, but David Beckham scored a fucking screamer in the first half. The comeback final game against Tottenham, David Beckham puts it in a fucking joint with an unbelievable goal. Yes, Roy Keane, brilliant performance. Beckham crossed it. The little shimmy against Barcelona where, I can't remember who stepped over it, Cole or York stepped over it and play a 1-2 with the other one. David Beckham played that fucking ball. He's not the bride in every one of those, but he is fucking right there. In every single moment of that treble season, he was somewhere in the region of like 30 fucking assists that season. And probably about 10 goals, I would imagine, off the top of my head. He was absolutely sensational. David Beckham is fucking severely underrated because of how famous he was. But you don't get to be that famous if you're fucking David Batty. You've got to be a very, very good footballer, and then the celebrity is going to elevate you to the next level. Beckham is underrated because people only see his celebrity. He was fucking ridiculous. Ridiculous. Thoughts on VAR going into the season? Don't like it. Would rather it wasn't there. But if we win the league on it, I fucking love it. Ujwal says, youth stadium, ? Yes, 100. How have we got this amazing youth record for 80 years and not got our own fucking youth stadium? Are you kidding me? That's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Ankan says, your thoughts on the Red Devils in Singapore blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And it's really good to go and experience football in other cultures and stuff like that, which I really like doing anyway. But it was great to see United watch over there. Jack Harv, if you had to follow a sport as devoutly as you follow football, what would it be? MMA. Check out MMA latest. Best country I've been to. I'm a fan of Germany, to be honest. I mean, it's not the prettiest. There's some amazing sights that I've seen in America. Singapore might be the most picturesque shit I ever saw in my life. All the way around that bay. It's just everywhere you look's on wallpaper. Don't know. I need to see more. More research required. Who is going to surprise us most this season? Marcus Rashford. Oh, how many seasons until you honestly think we will win the Prem again? Oh, fuck's sake. At least 5. I mean, if everything went amazing this season and the wheels fell off the Scousers, we're still going to be a long second, 15, 20 points, even if it went amazing, I think, behind City. How long does it take to close 15 points? Unless the wheels fall off City, unless their new manager... You might do it in 3 if you invest properly. We're not going to do that. You're looking at 5 at the very least, I think. How are you feeling ahead of Chelsea, confidence-wise, as of right now, says Aaron. 1 to 10. For that particular game, like an 8. For the full season, more like a 6, but I think we're going to do Chelsea. Worst United performance you've ever seen? Oh, fuck, there's a good chance that that's come in the last 5 years, isn't it? I don't know. I fucking don't know. Do you think you'll ever be in Belfast? Yes. And fancy a pint? Also, yes. What's your thoughts on people thinking Ollie will be sacked by Christmas? I fucking hope they're well wrong, to be honest with you. I think United tried to keep Fergie's legacy going and an identity of the club going when they appointed David Moyes. They then still tried to adhere to that in a certain way, although the philosophy was at odds with what the club is with Louis van Gaal, but he does promote youth and he definitely tries a load of youngsters out to see if they're good or not. We dance with the devil when you appoint Jose Mourinho because he is not going to set the club up to be successful after him. He's going to rinse the club of assets. He's going to fucking annoy everyone, but ultimately he is successful. This is the first time he's not delivered a league title in his life. United now need to go back to why they appointed David Moyes and why he was appointed. No, it didn't work with David Moyes. If Ollie continues the form that we saw since he was made the official manager, he might not make Christmas. But what if he replicates the form that we showed when he took over? Because I think certain things happened when he was given the job full time. And I think those things have been put back into place in pre-season. I think he knows who's about and who can do what he's asking for them. So I think we're going to be okay. And I'd be very surprised if he sat by Christmas. One signing you would have made after Ronaldo left. Shit. Trying to think back 10 years. Ribery. Maybe. Oh, not fucking Obertan and Michael Owen. I'll tell you that for free. Ugh. Best player I've seen play live? Cristiano Ronaldo. And do you know what? I mean, original Ronaldo was another thing altogether. But it's Cantona that made me love this place. Do you still have internships? Yes, especially if you're an MMA fan. Get in touch. Thomas Deftin, we're going to leave it on this one. If you could pick any of the Busby babes to play for the current squad, who would it be and why? Well, we need a number 6, don't we? There was this young man that they called the greatest. That wouldn't be a bad place to start, would it? Can we get Duncan Edwards in? I think we'll go with Duncan Edwards for 1. And that George Best fella wasn't all that bad either, was he? Should we go with George Best to fill that right wing spot? Forget about Sancho. We're bringing George Best and Duncan Edwards. And then we'll see if BT still think we're going to fucking finish 6th. Or maybe we've got players like Mason Greenwood and Angel Gomez. You never know what's going to happen to them. You've got to give them games and find out. So Matt Woodhoff, because that was what he was all about. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for joining me on the Q&A. If you've not already, come and follow me on Instagram at Mr. Stephen Howson. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.